The money in your wallet is the same. But somehow, everything around got more expensive. Today, we talk about inflation. It's one of the simplest concepts in economics, yet one of the most misunderstood. Inflation works quietly. It means the general increase in prices over time, or, in reverse, the decline in the purchasing power of money. When prices go up, each dollar buys less. That's it. But behind that simple idea lies a complex chain of causes. Imagine you could buy a loaf of bread for $1 last year, and today it costs $1.10. The bread didn't change, the dollar did. Inflation isn't about the bread becoming more valuable. It's about your money losing value compared to the goods and services around it. So, where does inflation come from? First, demand pull inflation, when consumers have more money to spend, but production can't keep up. Second, cost push inflation, when it simply becomes more expensive to produce goods, like when oil or wages rise. And third, monetary inflation, when the amount of money in circulation grows faster than the real economy. Governments and central banks often create new money by issuing debt or buying assets. That money enters the system through banks, loans, or stimulus checks. If more dollars chase the same number of products, prices adjust upward. Inflation rarely happens evenly. Prices of essentials, food, rent, fuel, rise faster than others. Meanwhile, wages often lag behind. That gap is where inflation steals quietly. Let's take you as an example. Suppose you earn $3,000 a month. Inflation runs at 4%, but your salary stays the same. Next year, your $3,000 buy only about $2,880 worth of goods. You didn't spend more. You just lost value while doing nothing. That's inflation's tax, invisible, automatic, and unavoidable. Governments allow inflation because a little inflation makes the economy easier to manage. For one, it reduces the real burden of debt. If you borrowed $100,000 at a fixed rate and prices rise, you repay with cheaper money. Governments benefit from this too. They owe trillions, so mild inflation slowly erodes their obligations. Inflation also keeps people spending. If you expect prices to rise, you buy today rather than tomorrow, keeping businesses alive and unemployment low. That's why most central banks target around 2% inflation, enough to keep money moving, not enough to cause panic. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, tracks a basket of goods and services and measures how that basket's cost changes over time. But the basket changes as consumer habits evolve. If steak becomes expensive and people switch to chicken, the index assumes your standard of living hasn't changed, but you know it has. You prefer steak, but your diet just downgraded. Official inflation numbers often look smaller than what you actually feel. That's why people joke that real inflation happens at the supermarket, not in government reports. Inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. Borrowers tend to win. When you owe a fixed amount, like a mortgage, rising prices make your debt cheaper in real terms. But if you keep cash in a savings account, earning 2% interest while inflation runs at 5%, you lose 3% of value every year. The rich often hold assets such as real estate, stocks, businesses that rise with inflation. The poor hold cash. Inflation quietly transfers wealth upward, rewarding ownership and punishing saving. When inflation climbs too fast, central banks try to cool it down by raising interest rates. Higher rates make borrowing more expensive, so fewer people take loans. Less borrowing means less new money creation. It also encourages saving, pulling cash out of circulation. But rate hikes slow housing markets, reduce investment, and sometimes trigger recessions. Inflation isn't just economic, it's psychological. Once people expect prices to rise, they act in ways that make it happen faster. Workers demand higher wages to keep up. Businesses preemptively raise prices to cover future costs. Those two behaviors feed each other, creating what economists call a wage price spiral. In the 1970s, That spiral nearly destroyed several Western economies. Central banks had to raise interest rates above 15% to restore stability. The cure worked, but it came with years of unemployment and stagnation. In the past 2 decades, money creation became digital. They buy bonds and assets with newly created electronic reserves, a process called quantitative easing. That money flows into financial markets first. Stocks and real estate rise before consumer goods do. The wealthy feel richer. Then, when that wealth trickles into spending, consumer prices catch up. By the time ordinary people notice, it's already baked in. Let's say you saved $10,000 5 years ago. You didn't touch it. Prices, meanwhile, rose 15%. Your $10,000 now buys what $8,500 once could. That's why investors say cash is trash during inflationary periods. They prefer to hold assets that move with prices, stocks, property, commodities, anything that can reprice itself when money loses value. Sometimes, inflation's opposite, deflation, can be even more dangerous. When prices fall, people delay purchases expecting them to drop further. That slows spending, hurts businesses, and leads to layoffs which cause even less spending. Japan lived with this for decades. So central banks fear deflation almost as much as hyperinflation. A small, steady rise in prices keeps the system alive. You've seen shrinkflation packages that quietly get smaller while prices stay the same. That's inflation disguised. You can't stop inflation, but you can outpace it. Invest in productive assets that grow with the economy. Real estate, index funds, or even skills that increase your earning power. If you borrow for things that hold or gain value. A mortgage for a home can be smart. Credit card debt for consumption is not. The key is to understand that money is not wealth. Wealth is what money buys, and inflation changes that balance every day. Inflation is not a thief that breaks in overnight. It's more like slow corrosion, invisible but constant. Governments need it. Markets depend on it. And citizens pay for it, penny by penny, every time they buy groceries or pay rent. When you look at your savings, remember, the number might not change, but its meaning does. So the next time you feel your paycheck buying less, remember, it's not only your imagination, it's the quiet machinery of inflation, working behind every dollar you spend. Thanks for watching Fu Fun Fact. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and tell us what you'd like next. Your idea might be our next video.